Gator Blade Show. We're going to hear a little bit about knives.
Yeah, hi, my name is Jim Roberts. I'm from Rotunda, West Florida, down in Charlotte County. And I've been collecting knives for probably about roughly 45 years. I'm a member of the Fort Myers Knife Club and the Sarasota Knife Club. I've got a fairly extensive collection. I think the thing I really like the most is some of my custom knives. And I'm also fond of many of the Japanese production knives. A lot of my knives are from Terry Renner, who is one of the more famous knife makers here in Florida. I have several of his knives, and he's a good friend. He's made, I've bought several knives from him over the years. This one being the first knife he ever made. Actually, he made it for his father, and when his father passed away, he didn't want to keep the knife, so I ended up buying it from him. It's kind of an unusual design with a push-button lock, and Terry thinks in abstract ways, to say the least. But and he has several patented locks already. But that's one of, like I say, that's his first knife with the Westinghouse micarta. And although it is a great knife, he's improved over the years with his skills. See, this one here, this was a knife that he made for our Sarasota club. I mean, this thing is so sharp it'll cut your eyeballs just if you look at it wrong. But so it's just a beautiful knife, and the way he put the pins in on an angle gives it an elliptical. All the pins have an elliptical look to them. And there's this knife here, which I told him I didn't want it, and a few days later I told him I did, and he told me it was sold. And I come to find out later that my wife contacted him and bought it for me. So, and then she hid it in a bag of socks for a Christmas gift for me. And it's that one there I will never sell or get rid of. It's just, you know, it means so much to me. A few years ago, I had an idea that I wanted something, a dual set of knives, kind of in the Conan the Barbarian style. And I had these antlers, and so I told Terry what I was kind of thinking of, and so he came up with this match set here. And they ended up being a little bigger than I originally envisioned, but they just turned out beautiful. And so originally they were going to be cross draw, but because they were so big, he made them a different type of sheath. And
I got a picture of the sheath.
Yeah, and it's just an amazing set. They've been featured in some knife magazines, and so I'm really, really thrilled with those. Really an expensive set. 2 years ago, and I had a metal rod in my leg from my hip to my knee. So they took the rod out and they gave it to me after a few years. So it had been sitting in my drawer, and I thought, what can I do with that thing? So I turned to Terry and I said, let's make a cane with this rod that was in my leg. So I found a glass doorknob online, and I gave him the rod, and this is what we came up with. So this surgical steel rod was inside my femur for 3 years. So now this is another thing that I can't sell it because it's a piece of me. So, but yeah, so as you can see, I've got a pretty good sized collection. I would estimate my collection to be roughly $40,000 or so. My wife is very tolerant of my collection. She would rather have a sewing room, but instead we have a knife room. So, but that's about it. As you can see.
Your favorite knife?
Oh, my favorites? Well, like I said, some of my Terry Renner knives are my favorites. But when it comes to production knives, I'm very fond of Japanese knives. And Moki and Siki Cut are some of the top Japanese makers, in my opinion. Moki knives, they've been in business since 1907. Their knives are really, the fit and finish is just amazing. And they're reasonably priced, so not too bad. Siki Cut, I have a Siki Cut that I carry on a regular basis with a Cocobolo handle. But then when it comes to one of my favorite brands, it would be Diefenthal. Diefenthal is probably one of the premier German makers. And I think they're superior to Puma's. In fact, Puma used to hire them to make some of their knives. This one here is a 5-blade upland game knife, just for cleaning pheasants and other waterfowl and things like that. I just love their knives, and they are a little pricey, but just really the steel, everything on them is just a fantastic knife. I love their stag. Most of their knives are all stag handled. Just really love them. There's another Diefenthal right here. Oops. That's another Diefenthal right there. Just an amazing production knife. So, can I say which ones are my favorites? I don't know. I got several favorites, but as far as in my safe, I probably have 10 knives that I carry on a rotating basis. But the rest of them are just for my collection, buying and selling and enjoying, So, but there you have it. Oh, my Bodners too. Jerry Bodner, he died several years ago. He was a member of the Fort Myers Knife Club. He was from Kentucky. And so he was probably one of the most famous miniature knife makers in the country. In fact, he started the Miniature Knife Makers Association. He was one of the charter members. And he makes some amazing miniature knives. This one here, for instance, he was very famous for this type of knife. Some people would call it a piggyback or a kangaroo knife. And you can see that he even puts a small knife inside the handle of those knives. Just, it takes more skill to make these tiny knives than it does to make the bigger knives. So, but these are very special too to me. And I've had several of them, but they're really highly sought after and collectible, so they do get bought and sold on it quite a bit. This one here is just amazing. Completely engraved. Even the little tiny pins are engraved. Some people have told me that it's one of the finest Bodners that they've ever seen. But, to give you an idea of price, this knife here would probably be $350 to $400 in price. These ones $250 to $300. So that's kind of it. That's as you can see. I am fond of pearl. In fact, pearl was what I started collecting the most. I have a lot of English pearl, Sheffield, and things like that, but I don't know. My interests are varied, but if it's got an edge, I want to see it. So there you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.